For decades, a simple rule governed consumer electronics. The older the technology gets, the cheaper it becomes to buy. But on April 2nd, Sony is breaking that rule. They are aggressively hiking the price of the multi-year-old PlayStation 5. Looking at this console lifecycle chart, costs are spiking right now. Base editions jump $100, while the PS5 Pro sees a $150 premium, nearing $900. This systemic issue also hits Japan, the UK, and Europe, with the exact same sudden premium. Sony's official blog post blames pressures in the global economic landscape. It's a convenient corporate phrase that neatly sidesteps the actual mechanics of what's happening, because this is an invisible, high-stakes bidding war over a single, highly contested component. And right now, the average consumer is actively losing. To understand why your console costs more, we have to look inside it, specifically at the memory chip. Historically, manufacturers treated memory as a cheap, abundant commodity. That massive, reliable supply allowed companies to keep retail prices for hardware relatively low. Then came the explosive development of artificial intelligence. Training and running these new language models requires colossal, power-hungry data centers to process all that information. Faced with this highly lucrative demand, memory manufacturers have actively redirected their finite production lines. They are pulling stock away from consumer tech to feed the tech giants building these server farms. The traditional gaming business model relies on slim hardware margins, meaning consoles are often sold near what it costs to make them. When enterprise AI demand forces companies to pay an inflated market rate for memory, that fragile math falls apart entirely. A massive data center built thousands of miles away is directly siphoning the microchips meant for your living room, forcing you to bid against trillion-dollar companies just to play a video game. Which brings up an obvious question. If tech companies have been building massive AI tools for a few years now, why is the financial dam breaking for Sony today? The answer lies in corporate vendor contracts. Sony likely relied on price protections, long-term agreements that locked in artificially cheap rates for memory components well before the current shortage began. According to industry analysts, those protective contracts have recently run out. Sony is suddenly fully exposed to the brutal reality of an AI-inflated market rate. And this exposure is happening alongside a new wave of global inflation. Ongoing conflicts in the Middle East are driving up raw material costs and heavily disrupting global shipping lanes. The April price hike is the result of all these factors colliding. An expired corporate shield has met a localized supply monopoly, compounded by global supply chain bottlenecks. Sony isn't acting in a vacuum here. This broken math applies to the entire industry, and every consumer electronics manufacturer is staring down the exact same balance sheet. Take Nintendo, for example. Right now, they are swallowing these massive component costs and holding retail prices steady, but only because they need to establish their newly launched Switch 2 platform. Market researchers view this as a temporary hold. It is highly likely that giants like Microsoft and Nintendo will soon have to follow Sony's lead and pass these costs on to the buyer. To survive this, Sony is abandoning its reliance on moving cheap hardware just to acquire new users. Instead, their executives have confirmed they will focus on heavily monetizing their existing install base. They are shifting their primary revenue strategy towards selling more software and network subscriptions to the players they already have. The era of cheap hardware is over. As AI consumes supply, consumers will pay the true cost of silicon.